a great group who come, to these webinars, and some of us are more familiar with, things like EFT, and some of us aren't. So for those of our friends that might be just joining us and not really familiar with what emotional freedom techniques are, or even what we mean by energy psychology, can you help us understand that a little bit?
Well, energy medicine's been around for a very, very long time. Tens of thousands of years. There's evidence that things like acupressure and acupuncture were used by people over 5,000 years ago, and probably a long time before that as well. And so those ancient shamans were able to see the energy field of the human body. And what's remarkable to me, for example, is that I use a device called the galvanometer in my live workshops. It's a little handheld device, and it can measure the amount of resistance on your skin. And when I run it over people's skin, wherever there's an acupuncture point, the machine starts beeping. But if I move it 1 millimeter away, Shamini, it doesn't beep anymore. Wow. And so these points are tiny, and they're real, and they're measurable. In my book, The Genie in Your Genes, I cite Harvard research showing that they only have 1/2000th of the resistance of the surrounding skin. So they're easy to detect with the machine today. But how did those shamans 2,000 years ago in China write the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine and show us exactly where those points are? They had no galvanometer like I had, yet they could see energy. They could see these flows. So energy has been used for healing for a long, long time. And then we have increasingly in the West gone to much more a mechanistic model of medicine, and we've forgotten healing's energy roots. And then in psychology, there have been a lot of wonderful discoveries in the last couple of centuries, but energy psychology applies the techniques of energy medicine and these energy flows to healing psychological problems like anxiety, depression, PTSD, and phobias. And it turns out that when you heal those things, you find that they have enormous leverage over the body as well. And I'll just mention one study to close that question. And so EFT uses tapping on acupressure points. It's like finding a point. There's a meridian over here. You just tap gently with it. What it does is it then calms the emotional midbrain. So when we put people into an MRI scanner, and we say to people, now think about a bad thing from your past. Think about that childhood bullying, or think about losing your house during the financial crisis in 2008. Then their emotional midbrain gets highly active because they're very, very triggered. The fight or flight response turns on. When they do that and then they tap, it just shuts that down. So pressure, acupressure on these acupuncture points turns off the emotional midbrain. And the study that I find just amazing to close off this little explanation of EFT is, so it's pairing an emotional memory with tapping, and that's what does the magic. And in this one study, these researchers had people, and they were measuring their gene expression before and after 1 hour of EFT therapy, just 1 hour. And they found that in 1 hour, 72 genes were upregulated, including genes that suppress breast cancer, suppress prostate cancer, suppress throat cancer, suppress bowel cancer, genes that promote growth in the hippocampus, in the learning circuits, genes that turn up the ability of the brain to create more white matter in those parts of the brain, genes that protect your body from the sun's ultraviolet radiation, genes that, I just go on and on and on.
Wow.
But 52 genes turned up by 1 hour of EFT. So that is how potent these techniques are. Even though they're energy psychology, they have potent effects on the body as well.